I'm going to explain what I learned about the water cycle from my earth science class. So, here are the steps I went through to complete this illustration you see. First, I took the sticky paper that I used and I traced all of the images that you see right here. Then I filled them out with coloring pencils and markers. So once I did that, I looked at all of the images that I had and I wrote down the words that you see here on this paper. All of these words have something to do with the water cycle, and I will explain that later in this video. So, after I did that, I moved on to printing out other parts of this image. So I printed out arrows and I also wrote down a description of the water cycle. Now I'm going to explain the water cycle. Now, the arrows right here, these arrows represent water currents, and they also represent water evaporating into the atmosphere. These arrows right here. This word here is evaporation. Evaporation means that water evaporates or travels into the atmosphere and comes up into the sky to create condensation or clouds. Also, right here is groundwater. Groundwater is water that seeps into the ground and is used for plants. This is plant uptake. These arrows represent water being taken up into these tree trunks. And these trees use that water. And then water evaporates off of these plants and into the sky. This is transpiration. Moving on, this arrow right here represents how clouds create precipitation. Now, clouds are made of water droplets. Water droplets here are heavy and become rain, snow, or sleet, or hail. So these arrows represent this rain and snow coming down on these mountains. And then these water lines right here are water coming down off of the mountain. That is called runoff, which means water runs off the mountains back into the water or the ground, which also creates groundwater. And then the water cycle starts again. Now I'm going to read my description of the water cycle. The water cycle is a series of different stages that water goes through on Earth. First, it starts with bodies of water, oceans, lakes, and streams. Then some of the water evaporates into the atmosphere. Water also evaporates off of plant leaves, which is called transpiration. Next, the water in the atmosphere collects to become clouds, which is called condensation. Precipitation is when clouds become heavy with water droplets and come down as rain, sleet, snow, or hail. Once this occurs, it creates runoff. Water runs off of mountains and other elevated areas back into the ground or bodies of water. Water that runs into the ground becomes groundwater, which helps plants grow. This is the end of my water cycle project presentation. Thank you.
There it is. Done.
Okay.
Good job. That was great. I love the way you spoke about it without the summary, because that proves that you understand it.
Mm-hmm.
This shows that you can articulate your understanding in writing.
Mm-hmm.
But when you stood up here and explained the image, that means it was in here. And that tells us you know it. This is a perfect example of a formative assessment, right? Because from this project, we can see that you not only demonstrated your understanding of the water cycle and its various stages, you reflected it in your design of your project, and you discussed it in this presentation, and then you also went at lengths to articulate it in written form. So this was beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you.